Welcome into another edition of Saints Now by Chat Sports. As always, I'm your host, Trizzy Trace Girouard. For today's episode, we're going to go through the quarterback draft targets that the New Orleans Saints have already shown interest in, and we're going to take a look at what Dane Brugler's The Beast had to say about these specific draft targets. I'm really excited about it. The Beast is an awesome draft handbook, if you will, to learn a lot about all sorts of prospects at any different level. Shout out to Dane Brugler for all the awesome work he does there, and I cannot wait to talk about a lot of these guys. And we're going to show you quickly the meetings so far for the New Orleans Saints in terms of the quarterback position. For New Orleans, they obviously met with Cam Ward. That was a formal meeting at the NFL Combine. I don't think that one's happening. Shedeur Sanders had a formal combine meeting. He also got visited by Scott Tolzien and Keith Williams at the Colorado Pro Day. Quinn Ewers, he's been very busy with the New Orleans Saints. A top 30 visit, a pro day. He also got dinner before the pro day. He had a formal meeting before the combine, and he also had dinner. Had a formal draft meeting at the combine, and he also had dinner before his pro day with the New Orleans Saints, Jade Barron, Matthew Golden, a couple other guys. And then Jalen Milroe had a private workout with the Saints. Jaxson Dart did have Kellen Moore and many of the Saints' top people attend the Ole Miss Pro Day. Kyle McCord, the Saints hosted a private workout for the Syracuse quarterback. Kellen Moore attended the Ohio State Pro Day to see Will Howard. And then Hunter Deckers, Scott Tolzien worked out Hunter Deckers at South Dakota's Pro Day. And if you remember him, well, he's a player who got suspended due to gambling or betting on the teams and stuff, and now he's trying to kind of find his way back to the NFL. Catherine Terrell was the one who reported that. So nonetheless, a bunch of quarterbacks that the Saints shown interest in. A lot of top names. So really quick, I want to just add some context here. Dane Brugler's top quarterbacks, according to the Beast, are as follows. Cam Ward at 1, Shedeur at 2, Dart at 3, shockingly, Tyler Shugg at 4, and then Jalen Milroe at 5. And the numbers you see in the parentheses, those are the designations for, what round and what grade Dane Brugler has for the guys. So Quinn Ewers is a 3rd round grade. Kyle McCord gets a 3rd or a 4th round. Will Howard gets a 4th. Dylan Gabriel gets a 4th. And then Riley Leonard, a 4th or a 5th round pick. I genuinely do believe the New Orleans Saints will draft a quarterback this year. And I do believe it's going to be a top option. And it's going to be a guy that probably is going to be taken by the 3rd round. I genuinely did think that on day 1 or 2, the Saints will address the quarterback position. And if they don't, well, then they're definitely looking to next year to take over, see who can take over for the foreseeable future and who can be Kellen Moore's guy. So I want you to get down to the comment section. It's 100% going to happen in my opinion, but which quarterback should it be? Let me know in the comment section. Who do you want the Saints to draft at the quarterback position? I think that there's a handful of names to keep an eye out for, but honestly, my top 4 is going to boil down to these guys. Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, Jaxson Dart, Jalen Milroe. I think in no particular order, it's going to be one of these 4 guys. There's a lot of buzz around Shedeur and the New Orleans Saints. Quinn Ewers obviously had a lot of meetings and has spent a lot of time with the New Orleans Saints in the pre-draft process. The fact that Kellen Moore specifically was present to Jaxson Dart's pro day is not insignificant in my opinion. And there's reports out there that the Saints were very impressed with their private workout that they had with Jalen Milroe. So, I do think that it's important to note. An important question to answer is, who is Kellen Moore's guy? We're not going to talk about who we want. It doesn't matter who I want. It doesn't matter who you want. I love you, Nick Lopez. Producer Lopez, doesn't matter what he wants either. What matters is what Kellen Moore wants. What matters is who is his guy. And at the end of the day, you guys can sit here and call me crazy. I don't care who gets drafted. I'm going to support it either way because I'm just eager and I'm excited to see Kellen Moore get his guy. So without further ado, we're going to talk about the 4 people I think could be his guy and what the Beast had to say about those players. So let's talk about the pros of Shedeur Sanders. He's a controlled passer. He's very polished. And on top of that, he's a player who I have a lot of faith in. He has a very snappy release, and he is very creative with his athleticism inside or in and out of structure. And he's able to expand his options. Dane Brugler points out he's a Mahomes-like scrambler. He's not going to be fast, but he's savvy and takes yards when the defense gives it to him. He's also a player who can get the ball out, very accurate. He can make plays in structure or on the move. And in case you didn't know, he is the most accurate passer of all time. pretty cool note if you didn't know that. But in terms of some cons, in life, there's also, critiques to give him. He does have an inconsistent pocket feel, and sometimes he maneuvers around the pocket too much, and he drifts, which is a problem he has. But, to his credit, he also can move around the pocket to climb it and create space, but he definitely has an issue holding on to the ball too long. He's generally an accurate passer, but he definitely could clean up the deep passes. And on top of that, he's a player that didn't fumble the ball a lot, but he leaves the ball exposed when he's running. I mean, he's running with the ball out here a lot, and so it's a little scary if you ask me. So when it comes down to Shedeur Sanders, here's kind of the overall sum of what Dane Brugler had to say. Sanders doesn't have the physical traits to get away with some of his decisions, but he is a poised, rhythmic passer when he stays true to his skill set, and he shows the necessary touch and confidence of an NFL starter. He fits best in a timing-based offense. And for Shedeur Sanders, look, there's no question about the accuracy. There's no question about the mindset, the attitude, the swagger, the confidence. Those are all things that are off the charts. We just got to see if he can put it together on Sundays. And I think for Sanders and just about any quarterback prospect out there, half of it is how good is a player. The other half is what situation are they in? What team are they on? What support do they have around them? Who's the coach? So some of it does have to do with Shedeur Sanders as a player. Some of it has to do with the team where he may end up. He does, like I mentioned earlier, hold the all-time record for career completion percentage in college football at 71.8%. Had a 74% completion percentage last year, and he did benefit from a high volume of screens and checkdowns. In case you didn't know this, just 23.7 of his completions the past 2 seasons were on throws of over 10 yards. So that is definitely something worth noting. I really am a big fan of Shedeur Sanders, and I'm the guy who's starting to coin the term of Shedorlands. So we're going to be very excited about it if it happens. He has superstar potential, and he has a mindset that, quite frankly, could be intoxicating as a fan, and I think would be really, really exciting to have to run the offense for the foreseeable future. Now, really quick, I want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. I absolutely love Prize Picks. It's my favorite daily fantasy sports app, and it's the best place to get real money sports action. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Springtime is here and baseball season is officially underway, so don't miss your chance to check out some of the awesome players on the diamond. You can choose more or less on strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, or you can just try to go win that 1,000 times your cash. On Prize Picks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite baseball players with players from basketball, hockey, esports, and much, much more. You can sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And, I'm not a guy who likes to put cheddar down on baseball. I just kind of like to have it on in the background and see what happens. So I'm going to look ahead to some season-long projections for some professional football. Patrick Mahomes, I'm just going to speak it into existence. I'm tired of him being great. We're going to project it down year. We're going with the less. Saquon Barkley, I also think losing Kellen Moore is going to be impactful for his tape this year. So I think he's going to have less than 1499.5 rushing yards. And then DK Metcalf. If he gets Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, I think that is a lock to be more. So if you guys want to fade these picks, you want to tail these picks, do what you want. Just make sure it's with Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the bonus. It's guaranteed. Shout out to Prize Picks. Run your game. All the information is in the comments and description of this video. Moving on to Jaxson Dart, a player I'm extremely excited about, and I know a lot of Saints fans are also very excited about. I will say this. I think that he is a player to definitely keep an eye out on. Again, I said it before. I'll say it again. Do not think that Kellen Moore being there specifically for Jaxson Dart and physically being present, that is not insignificant. He has really nice physical tools. He is really good with his rhythmic passing. And on top of that, at 6'2", 221 pounds, I'm a very, very big fan of his. Fun fact, his birthday is the same as my mom's, May 13th, so that's kind of cool. But he does throw a lot of catchable passes. The mobility and the athleticism are there. And some other highlights of his game or how competitive he is, he does, the accuracy does not take a dip whenever he's throwing on the move, which is definitely something to keep into consideration. He has an efficient hitch-free release. He's prototypical in terms of sizing. The arm strength does give him access. He can hit every blade of grass on the field. And he also is a player that I do think is very successful. He's a gamer. He's a competitor. And there's a reason that Ole Miss was as successful as they were. And let's talk about some cons because, like I said, we got to be fair. Pros and cons for each player. The post-snap decision-making is kind of the biggest thing NFL scouts are worried about, and that's being reported by Dane Brugler and the Beast. He definitely needs better anticipation when throwing the football. His eyes, they tend to drop whenever the pocket collapses and he feels the heat. So whenever pressure does rise, Jaxson Dart is a player, the eyes drop, and that's something that you definitely need to work on in the National Football League, especially if you're a team like the Saints who may not have the best offensive line. Now, here's what Brugler had to say in his summary. Jaxson Dart needs time to develop his progression-based reads and anticipation, things he wasn't necessarily asked to do in college at Ole Miss, but he is a natural thrower of the football with promising mobility and high-level competitive intangibles. If allowed to develop at his own pace, he offers NFL starting upside in the right situation. And the confidence and the intangibles are things that Jaxson Dart highlighted at the Combine in terms of what makes him a great quarterback and what separates him from the rest of the quarterback class. And in case you didn't know, he's also Ole Miss's all-time leader in wins with 28. He's the leader in passing yards with 10,617, which is past Eli Manning, and the leader in total offense with over 12,000 yards. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you love him, whether you hate him, you have to respect him. Jaxson Dart is a good football player. He is a guy that I think Kellen Moore is going to be very high on, and he's a guy I definitely expect the New Orleans Saints to make a call or to submit a draft pick on. I think that this is the most likely candidate when it comes to players the Saints may or may not draft. Now, we are going to be giving you guys draft coverage every single day leading up to the draft, daily videos as always promised, but we are also going to be live April 24th, 25th, and 26th of the 2025 NFL Draft. All 3 days, all 7 rounds, we're going to be breaking it down here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. And then on top of that, we're going to give you guys breakdowns of the undrafted free agents. So be sure to subscribe, lock us in for daily Saints content and free videos leading up to the draft. Alrighty, let's talk about Jalen Milroe because he is a football player that is extremely electric with the ball in his hands. When it comes to being a rusher of the football, this kid is extremely talented. Some would say he's second to none. The speed and the physicality are definitely there, and he's a player that creates explosive plays in the passing game. And in case you didn't know, he had 12 rushing touchdowns of 10 yards or more in 2024, which was the most by a quarterback in the last 25 years. For context, Lamar Jackson had 11 in 2016 and in 2017. He also had 16 passing touchdowns in 2024 and averaged 36.6 yards on those touchdowns. So, he's a player that can create in the air. It's not a big strength of his, but the deep ball is definitely a big strength of his. He's just got to hone in the passing. He's got to just be a better regular throw of the football. He misses the layups way too often. And, you see a clip of him at the Senior Bowl, and it just absolute ducks. And at the pro days, it's just not ideal. Like it's the things that he shouldn't be good at, he's so good at. But the easy stuff he struggles with, and he does have poor quick game touch. He bails whenever the pass rush is coming in too early at times for his own good. And, I do think that he does have an issue of trying to create with his legs and not relying on passing the football. And we can dive into what Dane Brugler had to say here. Overall, Jalen Milroe is unpolished as a passer, both physically and mentally, but he is a dynamic athlete with a unique blend of speed, arm strength, and intelligence, making him an intriguing developmental option for the patient coaching staff. His upside is tough to measure, but it is higher considering he has all the tools to switch positions if his time at quarterback doesn't pan out. Interesting. Versatile offensive weapon. Kellen Moore has talked a lot about versatile offensive weapons. He's talked a lot about getting just a player who is a great athlete. It doesn't matter what you have on the roster now. If you have the opportunity to add a great football player, you do it, and you conform the the game plan to work around the player, not the player around the game plan. The Saints were also impressed at Jalen Milroe's private workout, like I mentioned earlier. And, there's a probably good reason for it because the legs were very impressive. And he probably looked like he was a good throw of the football when you don't have a pass rush and you're tossing it around in your underwear or in your Nikes or whatever. But, worth noting, just a little tidbit from the beast of Dane Brugler. He said that he had 20 rushing touchdowns but had 10 interceptions and just 5 passing touchdowns in SEC play. A dangerous weapon on zone reads, options, and powers. Milroe is an explosive athlete with the speed to rip off big gains at any moment. 20% of his 2024 carries resulted in gains of 10 yards or more. 70, that's crazy. 10 yards or more, excuse me. As a passer, the ball shoots out of his hands to drive the ball to every level, but he throws with too much heat and needs to develop his changeup. His disjointed mechanics disrupt the rhythm in his drops, which lead to inconsistent accuracy, anticipation, and processing. I'm a fan of Jalen Milroe. I think that he has the ability to be a dynamic rusher of the football. I think if you are willing to wait and develop him as a passer, he can work out. But I got to say, I just think that he is a player I'm not super duper high on. However, if Kellen Moore is willing to work with it and he's willing to be patient, he's willing to see what happens, Derek Carr is your starter this year no matter what. So maybe that's a route that's actually worth investigating a little bit more. Last but not least, let's talk about Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers is a little bit of an interesting case here because when we're talking about him as a prospect coming out of high school, I mean, he was like extremely highly coveted, a very, very well-respected quarterback. Obviously went to Ohio State, transferred to Texas, and at his time with the Texas Longhorns, like he was shown some development. And I also will say for Quinn Ewers, I'm not going to sit here and say he's a player who I absolutely am horrified of, but I will tell you this, I don't love him as a prospect. He is a natural passer. He does have a fast release, and he is comfortable throwing off platform. It displays the nice touch, and he's a calm player. Those are all things that are true, except the cons, the legs aren't necessarily a threat. Whenever the pocket shrinks and the pocket collapses, he does have a little bit of a tendency to panic, and he does oftentimes play with or throw the ball with too much touch. He doesn't play with his fastball enough. He throws with nice touch, and he can layer the ball into the pass catcher's hands well, but he's got to be able to throw it on a dot and throw it on a line a little bit more frequently. The overall scouting report from Dane Brugler, Quinn Ewers has the arm, the intelligence, and the poise that will translate to the next level, although his up-and-down decision-making limitations as a play extender and durability concerns create question marks for his pro ceiling. And I think those are fair concerns to have. If he stays healthy, the tools are there to compete for NFL starting reps. Now, again, the big question, is this Kellen Moore's guy? I mean, for Quinn Ewers, he's a player who trusts his arm over the mechanics. He also creates rotational torque to get the ball out quickly and plays with fast eyes within the structure of the offense. At Texas, he didn't have a ton of true dropbacks until he had to do it on third down, which is when his inconsistent pocket presence led to more negative results, meaning sacks and turnovers. The physicality of a long season definitely wore on Quinn Ewers. The fact that he had 2 college football playoff runs definitely were things that you could see impacting him during the end of the season and early in the season this past year. But he's definitely willing to play through the pain. He's a tough guy, and the execution was affected, but he's a player mentally. He's very tough. So I like Quinn Ewers. I don't love him. I like him. But, hey, we just gave you a lot of really in-depth information about some really important positions, the most important position in all of sports at quarterback. Got to give a lot of credit to Dane Brugler. He does a lot of awesome work. His draft coverage is second to none, and The Beast is an awesome, awesome resource for draft content, so I highly encourage you to check it out or encourage you to subscribe because we're definitely going to be giving you tidbits from The Beast leading up to draft day. So, by the way, if you guys liked this content, a little bit longer video, about 20 minutes, but very in-depth information about the quarterback position and about some guys that I think the Saints are definitely interested in, I want you to get down in the comments and yell, "WHO DAT" for me. I just want to see, is this content we keep doing in-depth, insightful, informative content around specific players of need? Saints fans, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to today's video. Again, a little bit longer, but We appreciate y'all for bearing with us and making us a part of your day. Y'all stay golden, and we'll see you next time.